First contact. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Galactic Federation scout ship Stargazer. Its sleek, silvery hull glinted in the light of a distant star as it approached the edges of an unremarkable solar system. Captain Zira, a tall, willowy alien with iridescent skin, stood on the bridge, her 4 eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Status report," she commanded, her melodious voice carrying a hint of anticipation. Her first officer, a stocky, reptilian being named Kex, tapped at the holographic controls before him. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're detecting 9 planets orbiting a yellow dwarf star. The 3rd planet shows signs of a developing civilization." Zira nodded, her antennae twitching with excitement. "Excellent. Proceed with standard observation protocols. We don't want to alert them to our presence just yet." As the Stargazer entered the solar system, the crew bustled with activity. Sensors scanned the planets, gathering data on their composition, atmospheres, and potential for harboring life. But it was the 3rd planet, a beautiful blue and green orb, that held their attention. "Fascinating," murmured Dr. Lorne, the ship's chief xenobiologist. The avian alien's feathers ruffled as he pored over the incoming data. "This species has achieved industrialization, but they're on the brink of an energy crisis. Their technology is advancing rapidly, yet they're still bound to their planet." Captain Zira leaned in, her curiosity piqued. "Are they ready for contact?" Dr. Lorne hesitated. "It's difficult to say. They're remarkably diverse, with thousands of cultures and languages. Their history is fraught with conflict, but they've shown incredible resilience and ingenuity." "Keep observing," Zira ordered. "We'll need more data before we can make a recommendation to the Federation Council." For weeks, the Stargazer maintained its vigil, hidden from Earth's primitive detection systems. They watched as humans went about their lives, unaware of the alien eyes upon them. The crew marveled at humanity's art, music, and literature. They cringed at their wars and environmental destruction. But most of all, they were intrigued by the humans' insatiable curiosity and drive to explore. As the day of the planned first contact approached, tension aboard the Stargazer grew. The crew had rehearsed the carefully choreographed event countless times. They would reveal themselves to Earth's leaders, offer technological assistance to solve the looming energy crisis, and welcome humanity into the galactic community. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. It began with a slight tremor that rippled through the ship. At first, the crew dismissed it as a minor fluctuation in the gravitic drive. Then alarms blared across every deck. "Report," Captain Zira shouted, gripping her command chair as the ship shuddered violently. Kex's claws flew over his console. "Unknown energy signature detected on the planet's surface. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." On the main view screen, a swirling vortex of purple and blue energy erupted from a point in Eastern Europe. It expanded rapidly, engulfing cities and countryside alike. The ship's sensors went haywire, overloading from the sheer power being unleashed. "By the cosmic egg," Dr. Lorne whispered, his beak agape. "They've done it. They've tapped into the Aether." Captain Zira whirled to face the xenobiologist. "Explain." Dr. Lorne's feathers were on end, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. "The Aether is a theoretical cosmic force, Captain. It's said to be the source of all psychic and dimensional energies in the universe. But it's only ever been a myth, a scientific curiosity. No species has ever managed to harness it." The vortex on Earth continued to grow, its tendrils reaching into the upper atmosphere. Satellites in low orbit began to malfunction, their signals distorted by the otherworldly energy. "We need to intervene," Kex growled, his reptilian features contorted with concern. "They have no idea what they're dealing with." Captain Zira stood, her form seeming to grow taller as she made her decision. "No, we can't risk exposure. Not now. The protocol is clear. We observe and report." "But Captain," Dr. Lorne protested, "millions could die." Zira's eyes flashed with empathy, but her voice remained firm. And billions more could die if we interfere without understanding the situation. We don't know what effect our technology might have on this. Aether. We could make things worse. As the crew of the Stargazer watched helplessly, the vortex reached its zenith. For a moment, it seemed as if the entire planet was enveloped in a shimmering ethereal light. Then, as suddenly as it began, the energy collapsed back in on itself. The bridge was silent, save for the beeping of consoles and the hum of the ship's engines. Everyone stared at the view screen, trying to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Status of the planet, Captain Zira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kex checked his readings, his scaled brow furrowed in concentration. Life signs are stable, but there are massive energy fluctuations across the globe. And, Captain, I'm detecting new signals. Thousands of them. They're like nothing I've ever seen before. Dr. Lorne leaned over Kex's shoulder, his scientific curiosity overriding his shock. It's as if millions of humans have suddenly developed psychic abilities. But that's impossible. Captain Zira sank back into her chair, the weight of the situation settling upon her shoulders. Send an emergency transmission to Federation High Command. Priority Alpha. We need reinforcements, and we need them now. As the Stargazer relayed its urgent message, the crew could only watch and wait. On the planet below, humanity was about to embark on a journey that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. In the days that followed, chaos reigned on Earth. The event, which would come to be known as the Aether Awakening, had transformed countless humans into beings of immense psychic power. Some used their newfound abilities for good, healing the sick and injured. Others, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of cosmic awareness, descended into madness. Governments scrambled to maintain order as traditional power structures crumbled. Those touched by the Aether could read minds, move objects with a thought, and even manipulate reality itself on a small scale. The world's militaries found themselves powerless against individuals who could disable weapons systems with a mere gesture. Captain Zira and her crew watched in amazement as humanity adapted to its new reality with astounding speed. Within weeks, new societies began to form, organized around those who could control their abilities. The old nations still existed, but their borders became increasingly meaningless in a world where thought could transcend physical barriers. It's remarkable, Dr. Lorne mused as he compiled his latest report. They're evolving before our eyes. In a matter of months, they've achieved what takes most species millennia of guided development. But not all was well. As news of the Aether Awakening spread through the galactic grapevine, other alien species began to take notice. Ships from various worlds appeared at the edges of the solar system, some curious, others fearful, and a few with more sinister intentions. Captain Zira found herself in an impossible position. The Federation's non-interference directive prevented her from warning humanity of the gathering storm. Yet every instinct screamed at her to protect this fledgling race that had stumbled upon one of the universe's greatest powers. As the Stargazer maintained its silent vigil, Captain Zira made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. She would find a way to help humanity, protocol be damned. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Little did she know that far below, in the rebuilt ruins of Sarajevo, a group of humans was about to make a discovery that would change everything. The sons and daughters of a city that had known war and rebirth were about to take humanity's first steps into a larger universe. The stage was set, the Aether had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Aether Awakening. The city of Sarajevo, once torn apart by war, now stood as a beacon of humanity's resilience. Its streets, once echoing with gunfire, now thrummed with an energy that defied explanation. At the heart of the city, in a hastily repurposed warehouse, a group of young scientists huddled around a pulsing orb of swirling purple and blue energy. "It's stabilizing," whispered Amira Beytik, her dark eyes wide with wonder. The 28-year-old physicist reached out, her fingers trembling as they neared the orb. The air around her hand shimmered, and for a moment, it seemed as if reality itself bent to her will. Her colleague, Emir Hadzik, grabbed her wrist. "Careful," he warned, his voice tight with concern. "We still don't understand the full extent of what we've unleashed." Amira nodded, pulling her hand back. She knew Emir was right, but the allure of the Aether was almost irresistible. Ever since that fateful day when the vortex had erupted from their experimental quantum reactor, the world had been turned upside down. Outside, the streets of Sarajevo bustled with activity. People went about their daily lives, but there was a new energy in the air, quite literally. Wisps of ethereal light danced between buildings, and occasionally, a passerby would levitate a few inches off the ground, still unused to their newfound abilities. Back in the warehouse, Amira's team continued their frantic work. They had been the first to tap into the Aether, and now they raced to understand it before the rest of the world spiraled into chaos. "Energy readings are off the charts," reported Jasna, their resident computer expert. Her fingers flew over holographic keyboards, systems cobbled together from pre-awakening tech and innovations born of their new psychic insights. "It's as if we've tapped into the very fabric of the universe." Emir frowned, his brow furrowed in concentration. But at what cost? The environmental impact. He was cut off as alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and the Aether orb pulsed ominously. "What's happening?" Amira shouted over the din. Jasna's eyes widened as she read the incoming data. "Massive energy spike detected. It's not coming from our orb. It's everywhere." As if on cue, the ground began to tremble. Outside, the citizens of Sarajevo looked up in awe and terror as the sky itself seemed to tear open. Swirling vortexes of Aether energy, similar to the one that had started it all, began to appear all over the globe. In New York, a teenager suddenly found herself able to manipulate time, slowing it to a crawl around her. In Tokyo, a salaryman's thoughts became reality, manifesting physical objects out of thin air. And in a small village in Africa, a young girl's tears began to heal the sick and injured with a touch. Aboard the Stargazer, Captain Zira and her crew watched in stunned silence as the planet below erupted in psychic energy. "By the cosmic egg," Dr. Lorne breathed, his feathers standing on end. "It's spreading. The entire planet is becoming attuned to the Aether." Kex growled, his reptilian features contorted with worry. "Captain, we have to do something. This level of power, it could tear their world apart." Zira stood frozen, her 4 eyes fixed on the view screen. The non-interference directive weighed heavily on her mind, but the sight before her demanded action. With a heavy heart, she made her decision. "Prepare a landing party," she ordered, her voice firm. "We're going down there." As the Stargazer broke orbit and descended towards Sarajevo, humanity grappled with its newfound power. Governments crumbled as those touched by the Aether realized they no longer needed traditional authority structures. Borders became meaningless when one could teleport across continents with a thought. In some places, utopian communities sprang up overnight, populated by those who used their abilities for the greater good. In others, chaos reigned as individuals drunk on power carved out personal fiefdoms. Back in the Sarajevo warehouse, Amira and her team worked tirelessly to understand and control the Aether. They had become beacons of hope in a world teetering on the brink of anarchy. "We need to find a way to stabilize it," Amira insisted, her hair wild and unkempt after days without rest. "If we can control the Aether, we can help people use it responsibly." Emir nodded, his own exhaustion evident in the dark circles under his eyes. "But how? Every time we think we've got a handle on it, it does something new and unexpected." As if in response to his words, the Aether orb pulsed brightly. The air around it shimmered, and suddenly, a window seemed to open in space itself. Through it, they could see stars, countless stars, and worlds they had never imagined. "Is that space?" Jasna gasped, her fingers frozen above her keyboard. Before anyone could respond, Alarms blared once again. But this time, it wasn't the Aether causing the disturbance. "Something's entering the atmosphere," Emir reported, his eyes glued to a monitor. It's not one of ours." Outside, the citizens of Sarajevo looked up in awe as a sleek, silver ship descended from the clouds. It was like nothing they had ever seen, clearly not of human design. Inside the warehouse, Amira made a split-second decision. "We need to meet them," she declared. "Whatever's happening, we're at the center of it. We have a responsibility." As Amira and her team rushed outside, Captain Zira and her landing party emerged from their ship. For a moment, humans and aliens stood facing each other, two species meeting for the first time in the midst of an unprecedented crisis. Amira stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "Welcome to Earth," she said, extending her hand in greeting. "I'm Amira Bajik. We could use your help." Captain Zira, towering over the humans with her willowy frame, regarded Amira with a mixture of curiosity and concern. After a moment's hesitation, she reached out and clasped Amira's hand with her own four-fingered appendage. "I am Captain Zira of the Galactic Federation," she replied, her translator converting her melodious language into crisp Bosnian. "We've been watching your world for some time. It seems we chose an interesting moment to introduce ourselves." As the two groups began to exchange information, the Aether continued to pulse and swirl around them. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The power of the cosmos was at their fingertips, but could they learn to control it before it was too late? In the sky above, more ships began to appear. Some belonged to the Federation, others to species with their own agendas. Earth had become the focal point of galactic attention, and the sons and daughters of Sarajevo found themselves at the heart of a cosmic storm. The Aether awakening had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The siege of Earth. The skies above Earth bristled with alien ships, a glittering armada that cast long shadows over the planet's major cities. It had been 3 months since first contact, and humanity was still reeling from the dual shocks of the Aether awakening and the revelation that they were not alone in the universe. In Sarajevo, now the de facto capital of Earth's negotiations with the galactic community, Amira Bajik stood before a gathering of human leaders and alien diplomats. The warehouse that had once housed her team's experimental quantum reactor had been transformed into a high-tech command center, its walls now lined with holographic displays showing the state of the planet and the space around it. "The Aether continues to spread," Amira reported, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We've managed to establish some control, but new manifestations are appearing daily." Captain Zira, now serving as the primary liaison between Earth and the Galactic Federation, nodded gravely. "The Federation Council is concerned," she said, choosing her words carefully. "Some members believe that humanity is not ready for this level of power." A murmur ran through the assembled crowd. Dr. Lorne, the avian xenobiologist, ruffled his feathers nervously. "There are factions within the Federation pushing for more drastic measures," he added. Emir Hadzik, standing beside Amira, bristled at the implication. "You mean they want to contain us? To treat us like some kind of cosmic threat?" Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Jasna's fingers flew over her holographic controls, multiple ships decloaking in low orbit. She shouted, "They're not Federation vessels." On the main view screen, a fleet of sleek, predatory ships shimmered into view. Their hulls were black as night, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "Vraksexy warships," Kex growled, his reptilian features contorted with anger. "Galactic scavengers. They must be here for the Aether." As if on cue, the lead Vraksexy ship opened fire. A beam of sickly green energy lanced down from the heavens, striking the heart of New York City. But instead of destruction, the beam seemed to be siphoning off the ambient Aether energy that now permeated the Earth's atmosphere. "They're stealing it," Amira gasped, watching in horror as the Aether was forcibly extracted from the area, leaving a dead zone in its wake. Around the globe, similar beams struck other major cities: Paris, Tokyo, Lagos. Anywhere with a high concentration of Aether energy became a target. Captain Zira sprang into action. All Federation ships, battle stations, protect Earth at all costs. As the skies above Earth erupted in a firefight of unimaginable proportions, humanity faced its first true test as a galactic civilization. Amira turned to her team, her eyes blazing with determination. We need to find a way to stop them. The Aether, it's not just power. It's become a part of us. If they take it all. Emmer nodded grimly. We'd be defenseless. Worse, we might lose the very thing that makes us human now. In the chaos of the moment, an idea struck Amira. The orb, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Our original Aether conduit. If we can amplify its power. Understanding dawned on Emer's face. We could create a planetary shield. But the energy required, it would take every Aether-sensitive person on Earth working in concert. Then that's what we'll do, Amira declared. She turned to Captain Zira. We need time. Can your ships hold off the Vraxexi long enough for us to implement our plan? Zira's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of her species' intense focus. We will do what we can. But hurry. The Federation fleet is strong, but the Vraxexi are ruthless. As the battle raged in orbit, Amira and her team raced against time. They'd broadcast a global call to action, urging every human touched by the Aether to lend their power to the defense of Earth. In New York, a young artist used her newfound abilities to create illusions that confounded the Vraxexi targeting systems. In Rio de Janeiro, a former soccer star who could now manipulate kinetic energy redirected the aliens' weapons fire back at their own ships. And in a small village in India, an elderly woman who had discovered she could communicate with plants rallied the very floor of the Earth to disrupt the invaders' ground forces. Back in Sarajevo, Amira stood before the pulsing Aether orb, her hands outstretched. Emmer and Jasna flanked her, their own powers augmenting hers. Around the world, millions of humans focused their will, guided by the scientists who had started it all. Now, Amira shouted, her voice carrying across the global psychic link they had established. In that moment, the power of humanity's collective will, channeled through the Aether, surged outward. A shimmering dome of energy expanded from Sarajevo, growing to encompass the entire planet in a matter of seconds. The Vraxexi energy beams splashed harmlessly against the shield. In orbit, Captain Zira watched in awe as the Federation ships suddenly found themselves fighting alongside a planet that had become its own best defender. Impossible, Dr. Lorne breathed, his scientific mind struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. They turned the entire planet into an ether construct. The tide of battle turned quickly after that. Cut off from their prize and facing the combined might of the Federation fleet and a newly empowered Earth, the Vraxexi retreated, their ships vanishing back into the depths of space. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the true magnitude of what humanity had accomplished began to sink in. They had not only defended themselves against an advanced alien threat, but had done so by mastering a power that the rest of the galaxy had only theorized about. In the Sarajevo command center, Amira collapsed into a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. Captain Zira approached her, an expression of newfound respect on her alien features. It seems, Zira said slowly, that we may have underestimated your species. Amira managed a tired smile. We've only just begun to understand what we're capable of, she replied. But we're going to need help. Real help, not just observation. There's so much we need to learn about the galaxy, about the Aether, about ourselves. Zira nodded solemnly. I will convey your message to the Federation Council. After what I've witnessed here today, I believe they will be more open to the idea of full collaboration. As the immediate crisis passed, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The Vraxxi would undoubtedly return, and other species might see Earth as either a threat to be neutralized or a prize to be won. The Aether's power had put humanity on the galactic stage, ready or not. But for now, for this moment, the people of Earth celebrated. They had faced their first cosmic trial and emerged victorious. The sons and daughters of Sarajevo, and indeed every human touched by the Aether, had proven that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. As night fell over Sarajevo, Amira looked up at the sky, now filled with the twinkling lights of Federation ships and the shimmering curtain of the planetary shield. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. But one thing was clear: humanity would face it together, with the power of the Aether as their guide. The siege of Earth had been repelled, but the true journey was only beginning. Unlikely allies. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Federation Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in tiered rows, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of life in the universe. At the center of it all stood Amira Beydik, the first human to address this august body. Distinguished members of the council, Amira began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I come before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for a new era of galactic cooperation. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some leaned forward, intrigued. Others shifted uncomfortably, still wary of the species that had mastered the Aether in a matter of months. The Aether is not a weapon, Amira continued. It's not a resource to be exploited. It's a fundamental force of the universe, one that connects all living things. We've only scratched the surface of its potential, and we believe that by working together, we can unlock its secrets for the benefit of all. As Amira spoke, holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, showing the incredible feats humanity had achieved with the Aether. Cities rebuilt overnight, devastating diseases cured with a thought, and the beginnings of terraforming projects on Mars and Venus. The chief counselor, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, leaned forward. Your achievements are impressive, young one, they said, their voice resonating in the minds of all present. But they are also deeply concerning. The power you wield could upset the balance of the galaxy. Amira nodded, acknowledging the concern. We understand your fears. That's why we're here, not to dominate, but to learn and to share. We propose a joint research initiative, bringing together the greatest minds from across the Federation to study the Aether together. As debate erupted among the council members, a commotion at the entrance to the chamber drew everyone's attention. A group of Vraxxi, the very species that had attempted to steal Earth's Aether, burst in, led by their imposing war chief. Lies and deceit. The war chief bellowed, his voice a guttural roar. The humans hoard the greatest power in the universe while the rest of us scratch for scraps. Captain Zira, standing beside Amira, moved protectively in front of her. But Amira gently pushed past, facing the Vraxxi with calm determination. War Chief, she said, her voice carrying across the now silent chamber. Your people attacked Earth, tried to steal something you didn't understand. But we bear you no ill will. In fact, we invite you to join our research initiative. The war chief blinked, momentarily taken aback. You? What? Amira smiled. The Aether is vast, infinite. There's more than enough for everyone if we learn to use it wisely. Your people's expertise in energy manipulation could be invaluable. For a tense moment, it seemed the war chief might lash out. Then, slowly, a rumbling laugh began to build in his chest. You humans are either the bravest or the most foolish species I've ever encountered, he said. Perhaps both. I accept your offer, on behalf of the Vraxxi Imperium. As the council erupted in shocked whispers, Amira turned back to address them. This is what we propose, a galaxy united not by fear or greed, but by shared curiosity and mutual respect. The Aether has shown us that we are all connected. Let's embrace that connection. In the days that followed, as news of the council meeting spread across the galaxy, opinions were sharply divided. Many saw the humans as a threat, a young species that had stumbled upon power beyond their understanding. Others viewed them with hope, as catalysts for a new age of discovery and cooperation. Back on Earth, Amira and her team worked tirelessly to prepare for the influx of alien scientists and diplomats. The warehouse in Sarajevo had been expanded into a sprawling research complex, its facilities a blend of human ingenuity and alien technology. Amir approached Amira as she oversaw the final preparations. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, concern evident in his voice, inviting the Vraxexi. After everything they did. Amira nodded, her eyes on the Aether orb that still pulsed at the heart of the facility. "We can't afford to hold grudges, Amir. The galaxy is vast, and we're still newcomers. We need allies, even unlikely ones." As if on cue, a shimmer in the air announced the arrival of their first extraterrestrial guests. Captain Zira materialized, accompanied by Dr. Lorne and a team of Federation scientists. Close behind them, a Vraxexi delegation appeared, led by none other than the war chief himself. "Welcome to Earth," Amira greeted them, extending her hands in a gesture of peace. "Welcome to the future." The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Scientists from 100 worlds worked alongside humans, each bringing their unique perspectives and technologies to bear on the mystery of the Aether. The Vraxexi, true to their word, proved to be valuable allies, their aggressive nature tempered by a newfound respect for humanity. Breakthroughs came rapidly. The ability to create stable wormholes, to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, to tap into the very fabric of space-time. Each discovery brought with it new challenges and opportunities. But as Earth became the center of a galactic renaissance, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. Not everyone was pleased with humanity's sudden ascendancy. In the shadows of distant stars, ancient powers stirred, disturbed by the shift in the cosmic balance. Distant stars. Ancient powers stirred, disturbed by the shift in the cosmic balance. One evening, as Amira worked late in her lab, she felt a chill run down her spine. The Aether orb pulsed erratically, its usual soothing glow replaced by an ominous flicker. In that moment, she knew something was coming. Something that would test not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. As alarms began to blare throughout the complex, Amira steeled herself for what was to come. The Aether had changed everything, propelling humanity to the stars and reshaping the galactic order. Now, it seemed, it would be both their greatest weapon and their gravest threat in the face of an unknown enemy. The unlikely alliance of humans, Federation members, and former adversaries, like the Vraxexi, would face its greatest test. As ships of unknown design began to appear at the edges of the solar system, Amira realized that the true battle for the future of the galaxy was only just beginning. The sons and daughters of Sarajevo, who had started this journey with a simple experiment, now found themselves at the center of a cosmic storm. The Aether ascendancy had begun, and the fate of all sentient life hung in the balance. A new era dawns. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light and energy as the combined fleets of Earth, the Galactic Federation, and the Vraxexi Imperium engaged the invading forces. Ships of impossible geometries, seeming to fade in and out of reality, pressed their attack against the defenders of the Sol system. Aboard the flagship Unity, a marvel of human-alien hybrid technology, Amira Bajik stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the swirling tactical displays. Beside her, Captain Zira coordinated the Federation forces, while the Vraxexi war chief bellowed orders to his own ships. "They're trying to reach Earth," Amir reported, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Their energy signatures, they're like nothing we've ever seen." Amira nodded grimly. "They're Aether entities," she said. "Beings from another plane of existence, drawn by our use of their native energy." The revelation had come just days before the invasion began. The team's research into the Aether had inadvertently torn a hole in the fabric of reality, alerting these ancient, incomprehensible beings to the presence of a new player in the cosmic game. All ships, Hold the line. Captain Zira's voice rang out across the comms. We cannot let them reach the planet. As the battle raged, Amira closed her eyes, reaching out with her Aether-enhanced senses. She could feel the invaders, their alien minds a roiling mass of confusion, anger, and a strange sort of curiosity. They didn't seek to destroy, she realized, but to reclaim what they saw as rightfully theirs. We need to communicate with them, Amira said suddenly, her eyes snapping open. This isn't a war we can win with weapons alone. The war chief growled in disagreement. These beings have attacked without provocation. They understand only strength. No, Amira insisted. They're confused, angry. We've tapped into their realm without understanding the consequences. We need to show them we're not a threat. Before anyone could object, Amira strode to the center of the command deck. The Aether within her surged, responding to her will. A shimmering field of energy enveloped her. And then, to the shock of everyone present, she vanished. Amira found herself in a realm beyond description. Colors that shouldn't exist swirled around her, and geometries that defied Euclidean logic stretched into infinity. And there, amid the chaos, she sensed them, the Aether entities, their vast consciousnesses turning their attention to this tiny intruder. Drawing on everything she had learned, every connection she had forged, Amira reached out, not with words, but with pure thought and emotion. She showed them humanity's journey, the awakening, the struggles, the alliances forged. She conveyed their desire not to conquer or control, but to understand and coexist. For what seemed like an eternity, there was no response. Then, slowly, Amira felt a shift in the very fabric of reality around her. The entities were communicating, not in a way she could hear or see, but in a way that resonated with the Aether itself. Back in normal space, the invading ships suddenly ceased their attack. A hushed silence fell over the combined fleet as they watched the alien vessels begin to pulse with ethereal light. Amira reappeared on the bridge of the Unity, her eyes glowing with residual Aether energy. They understand, she said, her voice filled with awe. They're not angry. They're curious. They want to learn from us as much as we want to learn from them. As the assembled leaders tried to process this information, a new signal came through. Not from any ship, but seemingly from the fabric of space itself. It resolved into a shimmering, multi-dimensional image that defied easy description. The chief counselor of the Galactic Federation, who had joined the defense fleet, stepped forward. They're inviting us to parley, they said, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. In the days that followed, a new chapter in galactic history was written. The Aether entities, ancient beyond reckoning, shared their knowledge with the younger races. They spoke of realities beyond imagination, of the true nature of the cosmos, and of the responsibilities that came with wielding the power of creation itself. Humanity, in its brief time on the galactic stage, had achieved what countless civilizations before them had not. They had bridged the gap between the physical and the ethereal, between the known and the unknowable. As the final negotiations concluded, Amira stood with her unlikely family, Emir and Jasna, Captain Zira and Dr. Lorne, the Vraxixi war chief, and representatives from 100 worlds. They watched as the Aether entities prepared to return to their own realm, leaving behind emissaries to continue the exchange of knowledge. What happens now? Emir asked, his voice filled with wonder and a hint of trepidation. Amira smiled, taking in the sight of humans and aliens standing side by side, united in their quest for understanding. Now, she said, we take our first real steps into the universe, not as conquerors or victims, but as explorers and peacekeepers. The Vraxixi war chief let out a rumbling laugh. Who would have thought, he mused, that the key to galactic peace would come from a bunch of primitives on a backwater world? Captain Zira shot him a reproachful look, but there was amusement in her 4 eyes. Perhaps that's exactly why they succeeded where we had failed, she said. They approached the universe with fresh eyes and open hearts. As the gathered leaders began to disperse, each returning to their worlds to share the news of this new era. Amira found herself drawn back to the Aether orb that had started it all. It pulsed gently, no longer a source of fear or confusion, but a symbol of the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. The sons and daughters of Sarajevo had sparked a revolution that spanned the cosmos. Humanity had proven itself not just to the galaxy, but to forces beyond comprehension. They had faced extinction and emerged as pioneers of a new age of exploration and cooperation. As Amira gazed out at the stars, now more familiar and yet more mysterious than ever, she knew that the true journey was only beginning. The Aether ascendancy had ushered in a new dawn for all sentient life, and humanity would be at the forefront, ready to face whatever wonders and challenges the universe had in store. The future, vast and bright, beckoned, and humanity, hand in hand with their new allies, stepped forward to meet it.